In this video, we will explore the personality traits of Enneagram Type 1. We will be able to understand people with this type of personality, why they behave the way they do, what their cognitive emotional strategy is, and it can help you to determine if this is your predominant personality type. What is the basic need of Type 1? To feel right, good, perfect, and in harmony with their system of values and beliefs. And what is their cognitive emotional strategy? Type 1 is the person who strives for perfection, seeking to feel that they are good, just, and perfect. Following the framework we created for each type, we will explore its three instinctual variants, the three instincts: social, self-preservation, and sexual transmitter. Additionally, we will analyze the behavior of this personality type when it is further removed from its true self and trapped by its ego. Type 1's lives are dedicated to the search for the sensation or feeling of being perfect. For many Type 1s, this translates into the need for perfection, to feel right, to feel moral, to feel like a good person who does things the right way, who is consistent, and lives a life in harmony with their system of values and beliefs. It's about morality, about how things should be, how we should behave according to certain values and beliefs. Perfection becomes a pattern. Things must conform to that pattern in order to be right, to follow certain standards. It's the pursuit of precision. And so, it bothers them when things are wrong, when people arrive late, when politics, the economy, the world, society, etc., don't function as they should. Type 1s want to maintain appearances, project an image of correctness, avoid showing their flaws, avoid making mistakes, and not be wrong. And from this comes their reformist drive. They need to perfect, improve, and reform their environment. Many Type 1s are accompanied by a constant frustration. They don't understand how people make so many mistakes, how the world is so imperfect and in need of reform. 1s are usually great educators and protectors. Type 1 parents want their children to be perfect, that is, to be very good and capable of taking care of themselves. Sometimes, part of the Type 1 personality, as a child, had the need to be self-sufficient and had to pull themselves out of the fire. So, the young Type 1 might have thought, look, if I don't want to be criticized, I'll make myself perfect. I'll become super responsible, even more responsible than my own parents, so no one can criticize me. The drive of the 1s is often the pursuit of ideals, which can lead them to become strong activists fighting for higher causes. They feel they have a mission in life, striving to overcome adversity so that the human spirit can shine and change things. Thus, traditionally, figures like Plato, Gandhi, and Noam Chomsky have been considered 1s. Identified with their ego, many Type 1s feel a sense of insufficiency, unconsciously creating an ideal of how things should be. In the process, they become very self-demanding and critical of themselves. And since they never reach the perfection they desire, they tend to get angry and frustrated easily. Among other flaws, they are often convinced that their way of seeing things is the only true one. Due to their arrogance and rigidity, they believe they are always right and try to impose their point of view on those who think or act differently. They are characterized by a demand for perfection in themselves and in the people or situations around them. They find it very hard to relax. They believe they always know the best way to resolve a situation, and they educate, instruct, and correct others harshly without being asked. They believe they are always right and judge and criticize what they consider imperfect, as their way of thinking is the only correct way. They rarely feel satisfied. Inside their mind, there is a severe inner judge and critic who corrects them and urges them to always do better. They defend their views vehemently, rigidly, intolerantly, and dogmatically. They want to be seen by others as perfect people who never make mistakes and are always right. They feel they are in possession of the truth. This often translates into a certain sense of anger, chronic rage, and it seems that Type 1s live in a kind of constant frustration, an anger toward life and the world. They will appear serious, angry, upset, rigid, as if trying to control their emotions. Trapped in the dungeons of ignorance, when the ones are imprisoned by their ego, they sink into a vital darkness. Nothing is perfect, nothing fits their high standards and ideals, everything is mediocre and far from their lofty ideals. On one hand, the world, their environment, and people are mediocre. The world is an imperfect place, therefore, they work continuously to reform it and improve it. The task is overwhelming. On the other hand, they themselves do not reach the level of perfection that the ideal of their best version drives them to attain. They feel imperfect, insufficient. They fear being considered bad, mediocre, flawed, corrupt, imperfect. That's why they put so much effort into everything they do and are so sensitive to criticism or judgment. Thus, many ones live in a constant state of dissatisfaction, always chasing a carrot, the idealistic perfection. In their pursuit of perfection, they can create a personal hell with self-demand and self-criticism. No matter how harsh they may be in their criticism of others, it is never as severe as the self-criticism they direct toward themselves. Their inner dialogue is incredibly harsh. They have an inner judge that doesn't allow them things like taking a day off, or when they go on vacation, they feel pressured to bring their work along. Excessively organized and rigid, they set unattainable goals and fall prey to the most fierce self-criticism, one of the worst forms of self-sabotage. One must be very aware that inner dialogue is the key to emotional strength, and that managing the mind is managing life. They may appear a bit cold, a bit rigid, although nothing could be further from the truth, as many have a rich inner world, a very pure emotional world. They tend to be very good people with a big heart, strong feelings, and high moral values. Still, they often maintain an expression of seriousness and composure due to feeling so conflicted with the imperfect world around them. This search for perfection can lead them to adopt a positive and adaptive strategy, or not so much. So, when Type 1s are calm, at peace with themselves and with life, they are very active, responsible, practical, and objective people. Type 1s have a great ability to see reality with objectivity. They are quite wise, and it's good to listen to them, as they give very valuable advice. Thus, we find great doctors or surgeons, and they are truly excellent because their pursuit of perfection drives them to be very precise. For example, they can be exceptional at diagnosing diseases, or a surgeon can be extremely precise when using a scalpel. They can be people with a great ability to do things well as a strong capacity to see things clearly. Many hold high executive positions in companies and project management, as Type 1s are generally very responsible, always striving for optimal quality. They can be very concerned parents, focused on preventing problems for their children, helping them navigate life well, ensuring they invest in their studies, and teaching them good moral values. The problem for Type 1s when they get stressed is that when they start feeling stress and anxiety, it's because they feel that their ideal of perfection is slipping away. They begin to see that people are making mistakes, that things aren't going the way they want, that there's a lot of stress and things aren't going well, that time is being wasted, projects are falling apart, people are arriving late, and things aren't working. When Type 1s get stressed, the negative side emerges. They get angry, become critical, and turn into moralists and persecutors. They tell you what should be done and what shouldn't, and start giving you arguments about why you're doing things wrong, even though they themselves might not be doing anything. Many Type 1s believe they are right, but often they lose that right due to their harsh approach and stubbornness. They need to learn to control their anger, work on their criticism, and their rigidity, realizing that things don't have to be exactly as they say. The personal development path for Type 1s goes in that direction, becoming more flexible and, in a way, learning to connect better. The Type 1 with the self-preservation instinct, unlike the social or sexual transmitter Type 1, tends to be the most rigid and perfectionistic. Always looking for faults, obsessed with productivity, for example, at work. They like to perfect things in areas related to the self-preservation instinct. taking care of the home, family, children, partner, manual tasks, technical matters, managing finances, and resources, ensuring that processes run smoothly. Self-preservation type 1s are excellent managers. Another aspect of type 1s is their operability. They are very operational and practical individuals who get things done and make sure things move forward. They do it very well and are hyper-responsible. Often, they take on too much responsibility. Their hallmark is total precision. They are like surgeons with a perfect scalpel. The social instinct type 1 is the least type 1 of all type 1s. In fact, sometimes social type 1s can be confused with type 7s because, when they are in groups, they can become very 7-like. They get very happy, have a lot of fun. Social type 1s also like to help people in the group. However, they are still type 1s because they are moralistic, a bit rigid, and like to be right. Social type 1s really enjoy talking about politics and discussing the nature of humanity. The more intellectual aspect of the social instinct is understanding how the world works and how people function. So, social type 1s, for example, who often move toward type 7, enjoy stimulating themselves by learning new things. You'll see social type 1s, for instance, talking about what they know, debating topics they're familiar with. They really enjoy debating, and sometimes the debates can get intense, but they usually maintain composure. They like to share their knowledge with others, though sometimes they might not show everything they know. The sexual type 1 is still a type 1, meaning they seek perfection and, in addition, they communicate it. They are generally the most openly critical, the most assertive, and the ones who say what they think. They tend to appear more explosive and intense when communicating. Sometimes, they're confused with type 8s because of that intensity and their way of imposing their ideas. The difference between a sexual type 1 and an 8 is that the type 1 seeks perfection but doesn't want to control others, whereas the type 8 has a clear need for domination and power. There's a big difference. The sexual type 1 usually has a strong character and authority, and they like to convince others and be right. There are some sexual type 1s who enjoy transmitting their ideas by presenting themselves in an elegant way, giving a correct, polished image. Other type 1s like to express their ideas more publicly, explaining why someone is wrong and why they would be right. The difference with the sexual transmitter type 1 is that they are always talking. If they are in a group, they speak and transmit their ideas. The self-preservation type 1 tends to be quieter, listening more than speaking, while the social type 1 will speak depending on the group. Keep in mind the fundamental difference here. The great lesson for type 1s is to understand that things are rarely black or white, but rather a range of grays. Objectively, it's difficult to always possess the truth, and perfection is an ideal. Doing things well, with dignity, love, and care, is what should lead them to satisfaction and free them from the chronic dissatisfaction that many find themselves immersed in. This is how they reach serenity, when, in their best version, they connect with their true self, and detachment from the ego occurs. I'll leave the link in the description and open a distribution list for all the videos related to the Enneagram as part of a course. Stay tuned for updates on the Enneagram in the video description below. Thank you for watching. I hope you found it helpful. If you liked it, please give it a like. If you have any ideas or comments, please do share. See you in the next video.